Hi, it's Simon again, the Fellside boy. In the last film we looked at keeping warm up at Low Fellside and particularly focused on open fires. This time we're going to look at other aspects of keeping warm up at Low Fellside. The building itself at Low Fellside was a large rectangular building covered in whitewash. It reminded us quite a lot of a chest freezer, and the properties it had were quite similar in that it was very cold inside. As we've mentioned, the main living area, we tended to keep warm in the living area by the open fire. The other thing I needed to mention about the open fire that I didn't mention in the last film was the sort of properties of an open fire. So yes, the heat radiates out from an open fire, but what you maybe don't recognise is that the heat also goes up the chimney. As the heat goes up the chimney, it draws air in from around. So we've got the heat going up the chimney, the air being drawn from around, which causes drafts from every direction. It was a really drafty house. It was a very cold and drafty house in that respect. So you find yourself sitting in front of the open fire. You've got the heat radiating out, you've got the heat rising up through the chimney, you've got the drafts being drawn in to feed the fire, and what happens is you feel very warm at the side of you that's facing the fire, but as the drafts rush in from all directions, it feels very cold. There's almost a cold draft going past you before it's drawn up the chimney. So you end up being warm on the front, but very cold down your back. You end up turning one way to keep warm this side of my body, turn the other way to warm this side of my body, and you keep doing that. And you can combat it by maybe putting a blanket around the back side of your body to keep that a little bit warmer. But it's a strange feeling. You wouldn't think you'd be quite cold while you're sat in front of a fire, but one half of you would be. You'd be bright red cheeked and warm this side, but cold on your back. The other thing that happened is as the fire got older and got lower, you tended to get closer and closer to the fire as the night went on, until we were all crowded round the fire by the end of the night, just getting that last little bit of heat from the fire. Anyway, that was the living area, the main living room that was heated by the open fire. The kitchen, that was another busy, lively family area of the house, and it was heated by a Rayburn style Aga, and it was a coke-fired one. Again, it was the heat source for that particular room. So not only was it the heat source, but it would boil the kettles on it. It had an oven and a little bottom type oven, and it was also for drying clothes and things like that. If we ever came in with wet clothes, you'd find the clothes hung round the Rayburn, trying to dry them ready for the next day. So it was the centre of the heat for the kitchen area. A funny little story about the Rayburn as well. In the lambing time, if we had lambs that had got cold and that were close to death and we needed to warm them up quickly, we'd actually wrap them in a towel and put them in the bottom oven just to actually get them heated up their bodies quickly, to actually warm them up, hopefully to save their lives. And it did work a lot of times. It revived them quickly. We hadn't to leave them in too long, unless we might be having them for supper as well, so we had to be careful about that. But yeah, another time when we had to think about keeping warm at Low Fellside was at night time, at bedtime in particular. As we mentioned already, there was no central heating in the house, and there's pretty much no heating at all upstairs. So we did have some electric heaters that we used up there, but they could only be used for short periods for safety reasons. We could use hot water bottles, and we did use them often. We did have this device we called a rat trap. It was basically a light bulb with a cage around it, and that would go under the sheets, and the heat from the light bulb would create some heat in that area, and the cage would keep the sheets off the light bulb, so hopefully preventing a fire. But many nights when we did go to bed, there was no heat as such. We were getting into a cold bed in a cold bedroom, and at its worst there'd be ice on the inside of the windows many a night, and certainly many a morning there'd be thick layers of ice on the inside of the windows, and we'd have to sleep in a bed like that. we'd just have sheets, blankets, and in the depths of winter there would often be coats piled on top to try and keep warm, things like that. Another little trick me and my sister developed to try and keep warm when we were in the beds and things was we'd as we'd get in the bed, we'd pull the sheets over our head, curl up into a little tight ball, and just the heat from our breath would heat the area immediately around our bodies. We'd keep in there as long as we could until we felt it was getting warm, and then we'd try and carefully put our head out again in a manner that didn't let the heat escape, and hopefully gave us a little bit of warmth to begin the night, and then we could create more warmth with our own body heat as such. It's funny, even now when I sleep I have to have the blankets over my shoulders and over my arms. I can't sleep with my arms out and particularly my shoulders out, and I think that's a direct result of spending my childhood at Low Fellside. It was it's impossible now, even the slightest breeze or draft on that area makes it impossible, so I have to have that area covered. I'm sure that's the direct result of a childhood spent trying to keep warm at Low Fellside. So quick demonstration of our little trick to keep ourselves warm when we went to bed. So freezing cold atmosphere, freezing cold bed, and we'd jump in, freezing cold sheets, pull the blanket over our head, and then curl up in a ball and breathe under the and then once it's warm enough, we'd carefully bring our head out, making sure that no of the warm air we'd created escaped, and that'll be us for the night. Good night. The final place at Low Fellside where we had to think about keeping warm was when we went outside. We quickly learnt that the best way to keep warm when you go outside is to put many layers on. So we used to have several shirts on and jumpers and then coats on the top, particularly when we went out on cold winter's days in the coldest of the weather. We also kept a great big pot sort of in the cupboard under the stairs, and it was jam-packed full with scarves, gloves, thick socks, hats, that type of thing, all the winter attire you'd want. And then when the weather became cold, we'd dive in there and pick out what we could that would fit us, wrap it round us, hats, scarves, gloves. Didn't really matter if the gloves didn't match, which they didn't often, as long as we had enough on us to keep us warm, and we could go out and play happily all day long. And then when we came in after a long day's playing outside, we'd hang everything up around the Arga, the Rayburn, ready for the next day. So that's pretty much it for keeping warm at Low Fellside. It was such a vital thing that we learned quickly. It was for survival really. If we didn't keep warm, we wouldn't have survived up there. Okay, more films to follow. Please like, comment and subscribe. Cheers!
Can I say something?
There was often ice and frost on the inside of the windows. Oh, stop, I'll start again.
Okay, just look here. Look at the camera. Don't look at me.
Well,
people can see your eyes wandering.
Oh, sorry.
Good vloggers, look here.
That's boring.
Look here.
It's the baby shower on a burp.